Hello, how are you today? I want to believe you're doing great. I hope you're enjoying the weekend, the beginning of the weekend. You're welcome to this session on dealing with challenging behavior in children. This is Holistic Edu-Consult. You're welcome once again. This is the third edition on dealing with challenging behaviors in children. And today we'll be looking at the defense mechanisms children use unconsciously. Last week, we were able to look at the brain theory by Dr. Paul MacLean. He's a neuroscientist. He explained the brain theory, and I explained that last week. But today, we'll be looking at the defense mechanism children use unconsciously, and at the same time, we'll look at the possible results of challenging behaviors, and then I will introduce you to the strategies to dealing with challenging behaviors in children. Because I wouldn't want to give you everything just on the platter, I would prefer that you study on these things too. I would prefer that you study on this particular topic as well. As a parent, as a teacher, I would want you to also read up on these things. So I will just highlight the defense mechanisms I've been able to list here. I was able to list 10 of them. You will read up on them. I will just mention them, then you can read up on them later. I said one of the defense mechanisms children use unconsciously is denial. The denial method, denial mechanism. They like to use that very well, but it's unconscious. It's unconscious. Denial. Number 2, repression. Number 3, projection. Number 4, displacement. Number 5, regression. Number 6, rationalization. Number 7, sublimation. Number 8, reaction formation. Number 9, compartmentalization. And number 10, intellectualization. I'm going to mention them again so that you'll be able to read up on these things again. Number 1, I said denial. Number 2, repression. Number 3, projection. Number 4, displacement. Number 5, regression. Number 6, rationalization. Number 7, sublimation. Number 8, reaction formation. Number 9, compartmentalization. And number 10, intellectualization. Please read up on these defense mechanisms that children use unconsciously. That would make me go straight to the possible results of challenging behaviors, and I would want you to listen attentively. Number 1, I wrote here, low quality life. Low quality life. Once children exhibit these behaviors, and these behaviors do not get managed, it can lead to low quality life, because by the time they grow up with this behavior, it's going to affect the quality of the life they live. So number 1 here for the possible results of challenging behaviors is number 1, low quality life. Number 2, strain on relationships. Challenging behaviors in children, when not managed, can lead to strain in relationships. Relationship with family, relationship with friends, relationship with neighbors, relationship with the community, relationship at large. In all spheres, it can lead to strain in their relationship with people. Number 3, I wrote here, social exclusion. Social exclusion. When children exhibit these challenging behaviors, and these challenging behaviors do not get managed, it can lead to social exclusion. The children may eventually become overly withdrawn. They may become withdrawn, or they may become overly expressive. They may become aggressive in their communications. So social exclusion is the third one that I was able to get out on the results of challenging behaviors. Number 4 is damage to property. Damage to property. When children exhibit challenging behaviors, remember I said it starts from childhood. It doesn't just jump on them. It is something that progresses. So if it has started from childhood and it is not being managed, well managed, let me not just say managed now, let me say well managed. If it is not being well managed, it can lead to damage to property. That is where you see children begin to throw things. A child is angry, a child is upset, and the child just pick up anything and throw. A child is angry and the child just pick up a knife and throw, pick up bottle, throw, pick up. The truth is, it doesn't just start from the knife. It must have started from throwing their slippers, their flips, throwing their sandals, throwing books, throwing pencils, throwing whatever it is that is around them at that moment they were upset. So that is where it starts from. So no, the fourth one that I wrote here is that it can lead to damage to property. Number 5, injury to self or to people. Injury to self or to people. Challenging behaviors, when not properly managed, can lead to injury to self or to people. But by the time children begin to throw things, those things they throw, because they are upset, they are not calculative, they are not thinking rationally, it's possible that whatever it is they throw may hit anybody, and when it hits somebody, if whatever they throw is a very heavy object or a sharp object, it can injure another person. Then children at times, when they exhibit this behavior and it goes overboard, they may begin to inflict injury on themselves, like a child getting angry and just jumps off the chair or jumps off the table or just jump or just do something just to inflict injury on themselves. Challenging behaviors can lead to that. Those are the possible results of challenging behaviors not well managed. Number 6 I wrote here is trouble with authorities. Trouble with authorities. When children begin to exhibit this behavior and it grows with them, they begin to have issues with the authorities. Like government, they begin to have issues with police, begin to have issues with people, with school authorities, with church authorities, with their parents at home. They definitely will have issues with authorities when these challenging behaviors are not well managed. Then the last one I wrote here, that is the 7th one, is death. It can lead to death. When children begin to inflict pain on themselves, when they begin to inflict pain on others, when they begin to have troubles with authority, it's just a matter of time before it graduates to the point of death. So these are the possible results. There are lots of them, but these are the 7 I picked out to talk about. You can read up on the other possible results of challenging behaviors not well managed in children. Now, I want you to understand that this behavior starts from childhood. And because they start from childhood, they have to be understood. They have to be understood. You must understand these behaviors. They have to be managed. They have to be addressed. By the time you understand it, you address it. By the time you're addressing it, make sure you have every knowledge, the capacity you need to manage it. Number 1, I said you have to understand it, you have to address it, and you have to manage it. It starts from childhood, that's the simple truth. Because if they are not understood, addressed, and managed, they can lead to dangerous outcome in children. I'm sure you heard all the possible results of challenging behaviors I just read out. Those are dangerous outcomes for children. Now, I want you to note that because before you can categorize a child's behavior as challenging, make sure the behavior is not as a result of medical issues or physiological issues. Before you categorize a child's behavior as challenging, make sure you are not categorizing mental issues and physiological issues. You know why? When a child is has mental issues, you don't expect that child to behave normal. It is not possible. So when it is a mental issue, a medical issue, please do not associate it to challenging behaviors. And the physiological part is the fact that I think this is teachers and parents will relate to this. When children feel pain, they will cry. When they are hungry, they will cry. When they are not comfortable, they will cry. Especially when children cannot express themselves appropriately. Especially when children are very young, when they are so young that they can't really express themselves. They can't tell you, I'm hungry. They can't tell you, I want to eat. They can't tell you, I want to pee. They can't tell you, I want to urinate. They can't tell you, I want to defecate. They can't tell you what they want to do. So the only way for them to communicate with you is to cry. Either cry or tell you with their reactions that they are uncomfortable. So please do not categorize these reactions as challenging behaviors. As a teacher, when a child is crying, that doesn't mean the child has challenging behaviors. It may be that the child is uncomfortable. Check the diaper. Check if there's any pain anywhere. If the child can talk, Make sure you ask the child as many times as possible, where is paining you? Do you feel pain anywhere? Are you uncomfortable? Are you hungry? Are you... just make sure you ask questions. Don't just categorize every child's behavior as challenging when you are not sure it is a medical issue or a physiological issue. Okay, so let's go on now to the strategies to dealing with challenging behaviors in children. Now, I want you to understand that there is no golden strategy. There is absolutely no golden strategy or magical way to managing challenging behaviors in children. There is no golden way. There is no magical way to resolve any child's behavior, any child's challenging behavior. There is no golden way. It usually takes combination of strategies. Please, I need you to listen to this to get it right. I said there is no magical or golden strategy to dealing with challenging behaviors in children. It usually takes combination of strategies to deal with these behaviors. Combination of strategies and time. It takes time. It takes time. It takes time. You know why it takes time? Because it took time for that child to get used to that behavior. So it will take time for you to resolve this behavior. It will take time for you to manage. Eventually, the truth is there are times that you can reduce it and there are times that you can eventually resolve it. Please note this. You may not be able to eradicate those behaviors completely, but you can reduce them. And there are times that with consistency, as it is reducing, it begins to fizzle out. So combination of strategies. Yes, thank you. Thank you for writing that there for me. Combination of strategies and time to deal with challenging behaviors in children. So when I say time, I'm not saying 1 week, I'm not saying 2 weeks, I'm not saying 3 weeks, I'm not saying 1 day. The truth is, this time also depends on the child you're dealing with, the kind of behavior you're dealing with, and the environment in which you're managing this situation. This time I talked about depends on the child you're dealing with, the behavior you're trying to resolve or reduce, and the environment where you're managing this issue. Either at home, in school, that environment also matters. It matters. I'm going to give you an example. There was a particular boy I was trying to teach. I taught him it was in primary 4. That should be in the year 2010. He couldn't read. He was not very expressive. He was termed as a dullard. And when the father reached out to me, I started teaching him, and I discovered that the environment he is, anytime I'm teaching him, the teachers there at that time would shout him down or say, oh, this one, he cannot know anything. Oh, this one. So that environment was not a very good environment for me to actually teach that child, because even if that child wants to learn, what that child is hearing can actually debar him from learning. It can stop him from learning. It can even make him shut down completely. So I needed to change that environment before I could actually impact him. So that is what I'm talking about. The environment the environment you're using to reduce this behavior or to eradicate this behavior is very important as well as the child you're dealing with and the behavior you're trying to eradicate. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the strategies. Now, we have 2 main strategies for dealing with these challenging behaviors. Number 1, we have the proactive strategies, and the reactive strategies. Number 1, proactive strategies. Number 2, reactive strategies. Please note that. Number 1, proactive strategies. Number 2, reactive strategies. Now, the proactive strategy happens to be the strategies you apply before these behaviors begin to happen. Proactive. Just follow the meaning of that word, proactive strategies. These are the strategies you apply before this behavior begins to show, or before these behaviors begin to happen in these children. Then the reactive strategies are the strategies you apply when this behavior occur. When does behavior occur? The strategies you apply when these behaviors occur. That is the reactive strategies. Now, these strategies I just mentioned, now they will help you either reduce these behaviors or completely stop those behaviors. You know, I said it earlier. It may reduce it or stop it completely. It takes consistency. It takes intentionality. You must be intentional about it, and you must be consistent. Don't start and stop, start and stop, start and no. You have to be consistent if you really want these strategies to work. And for the proactive strategies, you need to dedicate 90% of your time on it. Remember, proactive strategy is the strategy you apply before these behaviors happen. For this strategy, you need to apply 90% of your time. And for the reactive strategy, which is the strategy you apply when this behavior occurs, you need to dedicate 10% of your time to that. 10% of your time. I need you to note that again. For proactive strategy, that's a strategy you apply before this behavior happens. You need to dedicate 90% of your time to that. And the reactive strategy, that's the strategy you apply when these behaviors occur. You need to dedicate 10% of your time to that. Why do you need to do that? I am going to explain that to you in the next session, which is next Friday, and that's the last session. And that is where I'm going to break down these proactive strategies and the reactive strategies of dealing with challenging behaviors in children. Now, like I said in previous sessions, I know it is very difficult for you to manage challenging behaviors in children. I know it is a hard process. It's not a very easy process, but it is achievable. And I really need to reassure you that it is something that you can achieve. It is not without remedy. Challenging behaviors is not without remedy. It takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes intentionality. Remember, it takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes intentionality. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're able to pick one or two things from everything I've been able to say to you today. Next week, I'm going to give you a load of the sites where I got all my research from. British Council being one of them. I'm going to give you the others by next week. Make sure you join us next week, the same time. And that is the last session. Make sure you are there. Don't miss it. As a parent, as a teacher, you need to understand these things. Follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all our social media handles is the same Holistic Edu-Consult. Holistic Edu-Consult. That is WHOLISTIC